Once upon a time, there was a meadow. It often awakened with a dewy sheen on its blades. Upon it was a farm. The shipping dock on its farm warehouse read Bars Ag 2. In the neighboring hamlet of Whitevale, a chef named Linda was toiling away in the back of a restaurant when a delivery arrived. To her dismay, it was a shipment of genetically modified corn that she was ordered to prepare by the restaurateur. Only a few blocks away, a few years prior, the sound of a harp could be heard spilling out of an open window. Inside, a young girl named Petina finished the song and ran to ask her mother to go play with her friends. In a stern voice, her mother told her she needed to practice more. Petina reluctantly walked back to the harp and sat down, feeling sad. Scene change. Many years ago, the meadow was stewarded by an old man. He had revived it into an oasis amidst the barren landscape. When he died, the meadow sank, and soon it was sold to Bars Ag 2. Scene change. After being on her feet for many hours, Linda the chef panned her tired gaze around the messy kitchen surrounding her. Flustered, she plopped herself down on a plastic chair, put on her worn-out audiophile headphones, and leaned her head back against the wall. Scene change. Petina, 9 years old, wanted to bake an apple pie. She asked her mom to help her. Her mom once again told her she needed to practice the harp instead. She exhaled deeply, dropping her shoulders, and walked back to the music room. Scene change. Above the meadow, a small plane flew low, spraying chemicals which soon settled into its pores. Scene change. Linda, beginning to drift off against the kitchen wall as she listened to music, had a flashback of when she was in high school. She was looking at pamphlets she had gathered from different schools, deciding which path to take. She had visited several culinary schools and a music school which had tempted her. After perusing the music school pamphlet a little longer, her attention shifted to the credit card bill on the other side of her desk. Scene change. On the other side of town, Petina, now a teenager, was backstage waiting for her cue. Ding! She silenced her phone, embarrassed, but took a quick glance at the message. Wish you were here! She then opened her phone to see the photo of her friends exploring an illuminated greenhouse. Outside of town, the meadow was dizzy with chemicals. The only form of life it was allowed to nurture was a strange corn relentlessly sucking on its irritated soil. In hopes of cleansing, the meadow called for the spirit of rain. Meanwhile, Linda jolted from her flashback by the sound of her boss. What a disaster! Look at this place! She pulled off her headphones nervously. What if the inspectors show up? Come on, get it together, Linda. And don't forget to lock up before you leave. She stayed in her seat as he left, reflecting on her flashback. She wondered where she might have been in her life by now had she pursued her passion for music. Rain answered the call, beginning to fall on the meadow. Soon after, Linda noticed the sound of it on the rooftop of the restaurant and listened with reverence. Soothed, she felt some acceptance and squeezed out a long exhale. Petina saw the rain all the way from stage through a window at the back of the auditorium. The sight of it only heightened her sadness. As part of a protest to her mother, she reluctantly broke the awkward silence by playing the notes with careless timing. Linda, meanwhile, mustered up the strength to begin cleaning, even though her body and spirit wanted nothing to do with it. Petina's mother was not impressed. Later that night, the two had a heated argument, and Petina was sent to her room, where she proceeded to pace in circles restlessly like a caged zoo animal. The rain was picking up, just in time for Linda's bike ride home. She pushed on, numb, into the night. Not far away, Petina had worked herself up into a self-constrained, silent rage. Dizzy and feeling claustrophobic, all she knew was she needed to get out, and so she did. With no real plan beyond getting out of her mom's town, she pulled herself up out of the window and fell onto the wet lawn below. Not skipping a beat, she was up on her feet and walking beside the street. Further down, after the street had faded into an empty road, Linda was pedaling, but with little awareness of her surroundings. Turning slightly, her front rim rolled off the flat tire she hadn't yet noticed, jamming it into the dirt and sending her over the handlebars. Instinctively, she jumped to her feet. Her body seemed fine, but moments later, Linda's numbness cracked, and she was flooded with sadness. She plunked onto the dirt shoulder and cried. As the village lights began to dim in the distance behind her, Petina's anger shifted into a concern about her safety. Her senses heightened like a wild animal. And as they did, she noticed a woman in the distance. She could see that she was sitting on the side of the road crying. Petina picked up her pace. Her fear dissolved, concerned instead with the well-being of this stranger in distress. "Are you okay?" Petina asked Linda. Startled, Linda half staggered to her feet, fell backward, down onto her butt in the ditch. Nearby, the meadow was not feeling cleansed. Instead, it was irritated as the chemicals seeped down into its flesh. So it called upon the spirit of storm to help. Linda felt like she had just woken up from something and asked the young girl, "What are you doing out here?" With Petina's attention shifted back to herself and attempting to articulate her situation, she began to break down unexpectedly. "I wanted to get away from my mom, but I don't know what I'm doing." Answering the call in a flash, the spirit of storm moved in, briefly illuminating one side of the old barn which rested upon a hill in the meadow. Linda, freshly attuned to the moment, noticed the barn and suggested they both go there for shelter. Without hesitation, the two strangers detoured together off the road and into the dark cornfield. Without a clear line of sight to the barn, the duo had to rely on their intuition and other senses. Linda tapped into her sense of memory, specifically the moment she first saw the barn. The winds grew more powerful, making the corn move like liquid around them. As they tried to navigate, after getting whacked a few times, the barn was suddenly revealed. Linda was relieved to discover that the barn door was not locked, and the two went in. The barn was warm. Petina used her cell phone flashlight to find a place for them to sit. To both their surprise, a litter of kittens were squirming in the hay. The mother was nowhere to be found, and the two started fretting about how they could feed the kittens. A hesitant peek through the door confirmed that the storm was getting worse. They decided they would have to wait until the morning. As they did, the mother showed up to nurse them. Relieved, the two settled and got to know each other. Linda shared her dream of becoming a musician, and Petina shared her dream of becoming a chef. While they were both surprised by the synchronicity of their crossing paths, they were also both exhausted and agreed to let each other get some rest. The meadow and its friend, the spirit of storm, were not ready, however, to join this new duo in their slumber. The storm carried on. Scene change. Colored light patterns emerged. Drifting into them, intricate, not something out there, rather something deep inside, something stretching far into the ancient past, living on through generations and generations, generating new life. Microscopic DNA, light patterns, yet in this moment so bright and all around so beautiful. But over there, an anomaly, a distortion. Something is not right. Petina knew it was up to her to heal this toxic distortion of reality. And she was doing this already. Scene change. Mother at the symphony with Linda. Tiny Linda, listening to the records of that symphony music over and over again afterward. Mother walking together. Linda stops to listen. The birds sing. She tells her mom how they sounded like the most beautiful music. Even the rainstorm you're hearing on this night, dear Linda, sounds like music to you. It's always been in your heart. Listen, Linda. Listen and honor the calling of your heart. Intuition is there. Scene change. Sunlight streamed through the cracks in the barn walls. Birds could be heard chirping outside as Petina and Linda woke up in the barn. They spent the morning chatting and exploring the meadow. Linda noticed the name on the warehouse was the same branding she'd seen on the corn she had to cook the night before, Bars Ag 2. She explained to Petina how the DNA of the corn was altered and how the whole meadow was probably toxic. This reminded Petina of her dream. She had an idea. Perhaps they could teach each other. Linda about food and Petina about music. This gave Linda an idea. Maybe they could work to create something together at the same time. Something with food and music. Their friendship grew, and as their commitment to their passions held, more ideas came. More opportunities came. More work came. And more dreams became real. Petina's mom, a powerful lawyer, learned about how Barzag 2 was poisoning Whitevale's food and helped Petina and Linda sue them. Linda's boss, the restaurateur, was thrilled with the duo's pitch to create a farm-to-table restaurant. With the burden of a lawsuit on their hands, Barzag 2 was happy to sell the meadow to them. Linda's dad, a gardener his whole life, had always dreamed of being a farmer and was grateful for the opportunity to nourish the meadow back to its thriving nature. They called their restaurant auditorium Morning Dew Meadows. The meadow, of course, was joyous. Joyous especially when the magical vibrations of Linda's harp resonated through the meadow's heart. The